Serious people who have been on the deep web. What's the scariest thing you found? I remember a long time ago, there was a guy online that was trying to buy large quantities of bed bugs. When questioned why he wanted them, he basically said that he wanted to try to breed them to be resistant to normal methods of killing them while simultaneously breeding in a weakness that only he knew. This way he could release them in people's houses and then force them to pay him to get rid of the bed bugs since no one else would be able to kill them. My own password. Found a Chan that had a link to a website that when you put in an email address, it would show you the password in plain text if that email address had been pwned. Typed in one of my old, now closed, emails and there it was. Just a blank page with my email address and password on it, sitting right there for anybody to find. A friend of mine claims he was snooping around where he didn't belong, black market forums and hacking forums, when someone private messaged him basically saying, "I've looked into you because I see you in here a lot, and I know you're not here to buy or use the services because you're just a kid. I don't mind, but others will, and you haven't protected yourself well enough to be here. Get off if you know what's good for you." Yet, he thinks it was either a moderator of the forum who helped connect buyer to seller and knew what some people were actually capable of, or a cop who was trying to use the forum to catch someone. Either way, it scared him off and scared me from never going on law. Well, when I visited, I mostly visited the hacking/cybersecurity part. Interesting to see how people go about hacking various things, and really educational. Yes, there are people buying, selling 0 days, etc. But it's mostly social engineering. Anyway, the scariest was a hacking advertising a service, where he was willing to upload child porn onto someone's computer and report him to the police as a form of taking someone out. Well, actually, the scariest part was discovering that there were at least 2 people in the chat room that I was in discussing about kernel security who had used that service. I decided to stick to more regular forums afterwards, but it's mostly social engineering. A billion years ago, it seems I was explaining just how easy it is for dumb employees to cause damage to a network, and my boss claimed no employees were that stupid. So I burned a CD with porn sharpened on it and built an auto run that would shoot me an email with the machine name and IP, and dropped it in the parking lot. Had my email by the end of the day, a low-tier exec no less. You don't need to go to the dark web for that. I had an ex-female friend who wanted to get back at her new XBF and asked me to do just that. Somehow upload child PR0N to his laptop, and she would tip off the cops on him. I noped the out of that relationship with her. I still have the text she sent me about it, just in case. Edit. To all the people wondering, I called her out on it, and she broke down crying hysterically when I confronted her about what she asked me to do and ended the friendship. I also told the XBF, and for some odd reason he wasn't shocked about it. From what I heard later on, that they had quite an on-again/off-again relationship, with her dealing lots of threats against him for breaking up. The first time was suicide. Just to be clear, I would have reported her if I didn't feel like she was blowing smoke out of her. While randomly clicking around Tor one night, I found a site with a riddle and a text box to enter an answer. After figuring it out, it took me to another page that had a message to decode and another text box. Basically, every page was a puzzle and got harder every time. I was 15 and not very smart with those kinds of things, so I found a forum where other people had discovered the site and were talking about it, apparently. On the final page, it just displayed a date and a quote from Alice in Wonderland. I believe it was just a site made to be some sort of entertainment for very experienced decoders and programmers, but there was speculation that it was a hacker recruiting site similar to Cicada 3301. Either way, it creeped me out a lot. I saw that. It was a pig's head, Wonderland quote, and some creepy music. There was more going on, metadata in images, etc., which showed another level of the timer error, but it seemed like it was just some guy LAR ping. Also snap on the age thing. Hitman site. No idea if it was a scam. I'd be willing to bet they just take the money and run, but I noped out quick anyway. It was like you pay them the equivalent of $5,000 upfront in Bitcoin, and they kill someone of your choosing and cover it up, and you pay the rest later. Scariest freak. I used to take pictures of drugs for a local Silk Road dealer. I was over his house once and he was testing out some onion links, and he suddenly said, "Oh my God, look at this." It was a site where a guy in America with the corpses of dead animals and post his experiences with graphic pictures and descriptions. If you scrolled a bit further, you saw he moved on to humans. I walked away from the computer pretty quickly. The deep web is largely not a scary place unless you really go digging for things. Child porn, human trafficking, etc. will not likely be openly available to you without some effort, because it would be more likely to be shut down. All that I've really seen is lots of drugs, stolen goods, counterfeits, guns, etc. It seems to fluctuate. When I first got on TOR years ago, the big site that every guide pointed you to was advertised as an index of sorts. That site had so many links to child porn right on the front page, and this wiki was basically the de facto place to go for first-time TOR users. Then that got cleaned up thanks to 4chan raids and FBI involvement. You've had to now actively search for that stuff, I assume, because it was no longer front and center. Now here in 2018 I decided to see what the dark web was doing. I wanted fentanyl patches, and again the child porn is front and center on the other big index that new people are pointed to. I hope in schools these days they are teaching relative file size along with other basic computer literacy. That file seems obviously wrong to a lot of us, because we've spent so many years dealing with files that it's second nature. At this point though, with how widespread computer usage is and how dangerous just one wrong file can be, I think these acquired skills need to be core curriculum. I got really curious one weekend and set out to see what's been being kept from me. It's both full of interesting and dark, but it's mostly crap, and crap I don't want to be a part of. Some things I had ran across or found sites for: drugs, weapons, and counterfeit money deliveries. A hitman who only took cryptocurrencies and would only do adults. I didn't see prices, but he said it could take around a month for him to find and execute in a safer way. He said he'd prefer you don't do people you know though. But like, what's the point then? There was quite a bit about if you really want him to do a kid it's gotta be for a specific reason, and usually you'd have to pay for the parent as well. But the gist seemed to be like, I don't want to. But if you need it, give me a ton of money. A credit card swapping website, and a credit card buying website. Counterfeit pay card website. This is the one that got me the most interested. Essentially, they use spoofing/VPN and stolen credit card numbers to buy or fake a bunch of prepaid pay cards, then they sell those at like 60% the value or something. I couldn't verify the validity of it, so met porn of all kinds. It's not really something you can stumble into though. Typically, the direct links are pretty hidden. I didn't go looking for it, but you get a sense of where you can ask for what. A nude trading repository, like what the Fappening was referring to. You essentially trade famous unleaked nudes for others. I had nothing, so it was essentially a strange Craigslist of like, I need pics of I have pics of, and unleaked I can trade exclamation a guy who you tell him something you want, and he'd go steal it from a store and sell it to you for like half the cost. It's an interesting business law, human trafficking. I never went to the sites, but I found a link to one. I just assumed it was something I wouldn't want to see and didn't bother fact-checking. Basically, unless you're a depraved person, it's a huge waste of time and a glimpse into the worst part of people. Edit, to preempt anyone, no, I don't have any onion links to any of these. I just used wikis and the onion message boards and felt myself around.